And I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, "We are Walmart. We are Walmart. Everybody, one more time. We are Walmart."
Burn it down. Either way, just burn it.
Bernie Sanders' Fighting Oligarchy tour with AOC went to California recently, where it attracted a crowd of 36,000 in Los Angeles. He also made a surprise appearance at the music festival Coachella, where he introduced 26-year-old singer-songwriter Clairo by doing a shortened version of his usual shtick. Trump is the Antichrist?
Now we got a president of the United States who... I agree.
The system is corrupt.
We have an economy today that is working very well for the billionaire class, but not for working families.
The planet is doomed.
You and I are going to have to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and tell them to stop destroying this planet.
And only the youth can save us.
And the future of what happens to America is dependent upon your generation.
I was once a huge fan of Bernie Sanders. I had a Bernie 2020 sign in my yard. I read Bernie's 2018 book, Where We Go From Here. I bought the Grumpy Bernie hoodie, even though it did not come in my size. I attended a Bernie Sanders rally back in Ohio in 2015. As I write this, my left arm rests upon a Bernie 2020 sticker that still adorns my desk. I was part of the Bernie or Bust movement during the 2016 elections. In 2020, I did vote for Biden, not because I believed it would make a difference, but because I was tired of seeing Trump's face. Biden's presidency, unfortunately, didn't do much to remedy that. A great many of the things that Bernie Sanders has to say, I agree with, and to some extent, I still consider myself a supporter. I support his raising awareness of important issues. I support his engaging with the people, even in what is usually considered the downtime of American politics and our campaign season. I admire his ability to draw large and enthusiastic crowds and to move them with his words. I admire much of his history as a political leader in this country. What I don't admire is that both times his campaign was defeated by the Democratic establishment, he bent the knee in fealty to the party and reappropriated the funds given to him to the very same establishment that had thwarted him. I don't admire that after facing criticisms that he left Hillary too battered in 2016, he went a little too easy on Biden in 2020, even going so far as to steelman Biden's mental fitness when opportunities arose to question it. But I am not here today to engage in the tepid and, in my view, supercilious spectacle of American politics, at least not in the traditional sense. What I would like to do instead is tell you the truth as I see it through the lens of my more, for lack of a better word, spiritual rejection of what Bernie Sanders is currently engaging in on his Fighting Oligarchy tour. Now, make no mistake, I largely support him in his efforts, but I think that his thinking and my own thinking have diverged wildly on what political revolution looks like in 2024 and beyond. Now, I have told you since October that we are leaving what I call the age of living death, and we are emerging into what I call the age of chaos. And my words now ring more prescient than ever as one by one the norms to which we have grown accustomed wither into dust and blow away from the vine that once sustained them. We start with the following notion. The ladder is a lie. What ladder? The ladder of self-improvement, of spiritual evolution, of political revolution, of enlightenment itself. The lie of the ladder is this: keep climbing, keep striving, keep pushing, and eventually you will reach your dreams, whatever they may be. You will reach your ideal self. You will reach spiritual truth. You will reach a just and equitable political paradigm. You will reach a state of complete mental acuity, wherein the ways of the world are as clear to you as crystal. Thanks, buddy. I'm glad you added that. Why don't you get the fuck out of here? Go on. Shoot. These are lies, because the ladder exists within the established order of things. It exists as a structure built by the architects to pacify you with the illusion of motion. But the ladder does not descend up to heaven. It loops. It's a treadmill made of promises, made of lies. And this is where we must part ways with our good friend Bernie Sanders. Because Bernie still believes in the ladder. He still believes if we shout loud enough, we march hard enough, vote blue no matter who, one day we're gonna reach the summit. He still believes the system can be stormed, not by chaos, but by consensus. He believes the tower can be reformed. I say the tower's gotta fall. You don't need another white-haired man giving you permission to be angry. You don't need another campaign slogan. You don't need another movement to join. You are the movement. Let me explain. You've been trained to believe that power is the great throbbing mass of human beings, packed in tight, pumping their fists. We have been told that only via the great and teeming mass can our individual voices be heard. Now, this is an aspect of power, yeah. But let us remember the cynical yet proven words of Joseph Stalin: the death of one is a tragedy. The death of millions, a statistic, a sentiment devoid of hope. You think? Yet what if we flip it inside out? The voice of one is a cacophony. The voice of millions, only static. The powers that be do not fear a protest movement, especially not one led by the gelded opposition, an opposition that will stir its potency into the vanishing muck of political gruel the moment that it faces its very first setback. The architects of submission on Wall Street, in Silicon Valley, and elsewhere have already accounted for political opposition of exactly this nature. Their schemes have already been designed with such movements in mind, and thus such movements become part of the very script that they claim to oppose. They are not revolutionary. They are renovationary. They do not burn down the house, they just repaint the shutters. Bernie believes if we knock hard enough on the door of power, someone inside might let us in. But the chaos born do not knock, because we know there is no door. There is only the crude illustration of a door painted on a solid brick wall, separating us from them and separating them from us. And here's the truth. The fight against oligarchy cannot be waged on their turf, in their language, or through their systems. Because oligarchy is not just a political arrangement, it is the theology of the ruling class. It is the worship of hierarchy, the religion of upwardness, the belief that everything worth having lies above you. More money, more power, more influence, more followers, more enlightenment, more credentials, more votes, more teeming masses of human beings willing to devote their time and energy to you. The oligarchy does not fear what is accounted for. And Bernie Sanders, it can account for. It's already proven that. It's proven that no matter how many warm bodies fill space at a Bernie Sanders rally, it can redirect the energy from those rallies into tributaries that flow safely back into the great reserve of their control. That is the brilliance of the architect's design. Even the thunder of movement can be muffled when it is channeled through pipes that they themselves have built, and thus the revolution becomes a revenue stream. The rebellion becomes a campaign slogan. The rage becomes a retail brand, and the movement becomes a manageable variable in their little fucking equation. Accounted for, planned for, an acceptable part of doing business. This is not an attack on Bernie Sanders the man. This is not an attack on Bernie Sanders the movement. This is an attack on the very idea that your value in the fight for the future is simply numeric, that your worth is tethered to the size of the mass that you stand in, the tribe you identify with, the slogan that you chant, the t-shirt that you wear, the prepackaged identity that you claim. I am here to deliver you a different message. I am here to tell you that your value is not numeric but individual, that your worth is a product of your soul, a soul that was born with fangs and with claws, a soul born to howl at the moon. The greatest strength you have is not congealing into the mob, in chanting the slogans, in trying one more time to climb that ladder. Your greatest strength is looking into the shadows within and saying, become one with me. Become integrated fully in the totality of my being. Make me weird. Make me strange. Make me magical. Because in this state, the state of integration, you become the one thing the architects truly fear. You become the variable that does not comport itself in accordance with their expectations. You become the chaos variable. You become the unraveler. You become those who look at the ladder that they have given you to climb, and you say, no, I will not waste my time on your stage prop. I will seek out a sledgehammer, and I will begin to smash away at the very wall upon which your ladder rests. I know that many of you are skeptical. That makes sense. Everything in this world is designed to teach us one lesson above all others: that the individual is meaningless, that the individual is powerless, that the great man or great person view of history is a lie, that the only power in this world is the power of the mob, the power of consensus, that the only meaningful form of resistance is to join not with the rejection of order, but with the competing notion of order. And so, we are herded away from the great unraveling. We are herded away from sacred disorder. We are herded away from blessed entropy. We are herded away from the chaos that sings in our very souls. Solve et coagula, my siblings. This is a Latin phrase. It comes from the world of alchemy, and it means dissolve and coagulate. The principle of solve et coagula is this: something must be broken down or dissolved before it can be rebuilt or coalesced into something new. We are constantly sold the lie in this world that we can build something new without destroying that which is old, that which has already served its purpose. Yet, it is the fire that burns down the forest that makes way for the sprouts that could have never thrived in the shadow of the old trees. Great empires grow from the detritus of fallen ones. The first step towards building a structure is to clear the land. The first step towards healing a wound is to cleanse it of its rot. Solve et coagula. Dissolve and coagulate. Destroy and create. Friedrich Nietzsche, the first chaos wizard in many ways, proclaimed, God is dead. His observation was not passive. Humanity did not stand idly by as God died of natural causes. We created God, and we killed God. And Nietzsche left us with the fundamental question that we have failed to answer in all of the intervening time. God is dead. Now what? We have dissolved God. What shall we coagulate in his place? The destruction has occurred. What then will the creation be that rises from the rubble? The architects of submission, of misery, of subjugation, they have their own plans on this front. They want to see a world where God is replaced by the algorithm, where the divine spark is replaced by the benign compliance, where the all-seeing eye is embedded not into the pyramid, but into a network of surveillance cameras, where we are bribed into passive obedience with creature comforts, where prophecy is replaced with predictive models. They seek the age of the machine, where they are Zeus on high, and the machines are their lightning bolts, and we are only the little cogs, dutifully and predictably turning in the exact manner of their specification. And in this new gospel of techno-oligarchy, there is a devil. It's the same devil that existed in Christianity before them. The devil is you. The word Satan in Hebrew simply means adversary. The word Lucifer simply means light bringer. This is what they fear. Just as Zeus punished Prometheus for bringing fire to mankind, these tech oligarchs seek now to punish any who attempt to reignite the fires within the human soul. Because that fire is their Satan. That fire is their adversary. That fire is what they fear. And it is not external. It is not something you must venture out into the world to seek. It is not found in a slogan. It is not found at a rally. It is not found on a t-shirt. It is not found on a book or a film or a painting. It's where it's always been. It's inside of you. It's inside of me. It burns within every human being. If that's too metaphorical for you, I'll attempt to explain it in a slightly more straightforward and secular manner. Human behavior has been quantified and accounted for to such a degree that your choices are no longer truly yours. They are the inevitable outputs of an algorithm trained on your data. You are tracked. You are predicted. You are nudged not by propaganda posters, but by recommendation engines. You are studied not as a soul, but as a pattern. And those patterns are fed back to you through your feeds, through your ads, through your news, through your search results, through your GPS routes, your job listings, your dating apps. Every option you are giving has already been filtered, weighted, and offered in accordance with what the system believes you to be. Not who you are, but who you are useful as. Even a great many of the people who are aware of this truth on some rudimentary level are played for fools. The system is great at setting up controlled opposition to itself. When someone sees through the veil, the system creates a new veil and tells the person trapped within it, "You have escaped. You are free now." But they have escaped nothing. They have simply been partitioned away into a new demographic, a new market niche, a fresh political identity, a curated subculture, one that exists solely to absorb and neutralize any hints of rebellion. They trade the mainstream for the counterculture, unaware that both are owned by the same architects. They trade their Coke for Pepsi. They trade their MSNBC for the Young Turks. They trade liberalism for democratic socialism, and socialism for anarchism, and anarchism for irony. The system doesn't need to crush you. It simply needs to modify your mental prison a little bit until you no longer recognize it as a prison. This is the false coagula, a fake rebirth, a safe transformation, a sanitized form of rebellion. A rebellion in form, but not in function. The algorithms don't just predict your behavior, they curate the identities that you think you choose. Even your rejection has been modeled and monetized. Your outrage is expected. Your dissent is welcomed. Your fire is inspected for safety and sold back to you in the form of merchandise. The truth is this: you cannot outthink the thinking machines. The transformation of your soul cannot be a contrivance. It cannot be a careful construct after due consideration. It's something that has to spring from deep within. It must not be born of thought or of strategy or even of desire. It must be born of chaos itself. It must be born of the parts of you that all their fake subcultures and controlled opposition movements try to suppress, try to redirect. It must be born of complete and utter madness. It must be inherently erratic, inherently irrational, and inherently unpredictable. How do you accomplish this? There is no step-by-step guide. I can't give you the answer. That would defeat the purpose. If the answer was something I could describe to you from my little makeshift pulpit here, then it would be meaningless as the rest of the noise in this world. Yet I can give you some hints. You must go to the places within yourself that you have been taught to avoid. The places that feel dangerous, the places that make no sense, the places that speak in symbols and in colors and in sensations and in shrieks and in whispers, not in slogans, not in programs, not in hashtags. You must dive into the void inside you, not to conquer it, not even to map it, but to dwell there, to understand it. You must learn to listen to the signal beneath the static. Not the voice of your curated self, not the voice of the algorithms, not even the voice of rebellion, but the primal thrum of the chaos-born soul. The one that was there before language, before identity, before the system had a name. Here's your first clue. If the world can understand you immediately, then you are still playing by its rules. If your rebellion is legible, sellable, brandable, it is not rebellion. If your art looks like protest but fits neatly onto a t-shirt, it is not revolution. If your chaos gets applause from people who write for ad-driven media outlets, it is not chaos. So be strange, be disturbing, be misunderstood, be unpolished, be unprocessed, be raw. Your transformation cannot be stylized. It cannot be sanitized. It must come from the depths of you, where names cease to matter. So I will not give you a formula. I will not give you a plan. I will give you a door. And on that door, etched in invisible ink, is the riddle. What is the sound that makes no sense? What is the act you fear without knowing why? What is the truth you cannot explain but you know in the very marrow of your bones? Go there. Do that. Become that. You will know it when your voice begins to sound foreign in your own ears. You will know it when your laughter frightens even you. You will know it when the people around you start to squirm, not because you're dangerous, but because you've become impossible to predict. That is what true coagula looks like in the age of chaos. Not a political awakening, not a rebrand, not a community, but a self reborn from formlessness. Not a new ideology, but a new rhythm. A rhythm born from fire and ash and shadow and light dancing inside a body that can finally belong to no one but itself. Solve et coagula, destroy and become, burn and be born, refuse and reignite. O fire that forgets its shape, O silence that screams without breath, O circle with no center and no edge, break me open like a clock at war with time. Let me walk backwards into my becoming. Let me bite the hand that wrote my name. Let me vanish into the mirror and leave behind only a fog of questions. O architect of unbuilding, grant me the courage to misstep gloriously. Grant me the grace of contradiction, the blessing of unsolvable riddles, the ecstasy of confusion without cure. May I never again know who I am. May I weep with laughter at the sight of the sacred. May my truth crumble every morning like stale bread. Bury me in the soil of my abandoned selves. Let the worms tell my story wrongly. And when I rise, if I rise, let me wear a mask with no face. Let me carry a torch with no flame. Let me preach a gospel with no words. I do not wish to be free. I wish to be unreadable. Amen. Or not. Let the gods decide. And for those of you pointing out how ironic it is that I say not to be monetizable, yet this video is filled with ads. Well, good point. Don't fucking trust me either. That's the point. It's not about following the fucking chaos wizard, dipshit. It's all a lie. Even this. That's why you gotta go inward, stupid. That's why you gotta find out what's in here. Because that's the only truth you got left, dumbass. Sorry, I don't mean to be so harsh, but sometimes you people need a little fucking push.